So record on the computer. There we go. Excellent. Good. So, well, welcome everybody. Great to see so many people joining us today, and hopefully we'll repay you with some really good ideas and insights to what I think are four really great people that I've come across over the years, real experts in their field. In and around marketing. I've tried to get a balance of various different sort of marketing areas. So we've got Andy Gwynn. So those that can see the videos, he's the one with the beard. And what a beard it is too. So Andy's our LinkedIn expert. Spends half of his time in sunny Spain and half of his time over here. But anything around LinkedIn, he's the guy to speak to on that. We've got Julian and Julian G from Spitfire Marketing. So Julian's got vast number of years of experience in, I would say, traditional marketing. Julian, would that be right? And then obviously moving that into more digital online over the years and giving that balance between the two.
Yeah, and lots of advertising stuff
with a hat on and the phone. So
Mark
is a Facebook genius. So he built a multi-million-pound business selling products on Facebook. So again, what you need to know about Facebook, and it's more than Facebook, but that's sort of on the social media platforms that we've got there. And I've just lost Mark. Where's Mark? Has Mark disappeared and come back? Hopefully he's just got a bit of internet issues.
Mark's waving.
I am here.
Mark Hayway should be back with us. Here he comes. So Mark's with us. So Mark has been running SEO, so running people's websites, but really understands SEO to the nth degree and in a lot of detail. He's got his own websites that he runs just really for himself and selling product and services and advertising through the website. So thanks guys for being on the call. Welcome to you all. And if anyone else does join, if you can just make sure your mics are off, just so we don't have the background noise. As I said earlier, there is a chat box there. So hopefully you can all hear. If you can't hear, I know James put a comment up there. She can't hear. She can now, which is good. So grab the chat box. If you can put your questions on the chat, we'll try and come to them as we go through this, and then we might have, for those that prefer to speak, we'll have a bit of time hopefully towards the end where we can pick up the last few. So cool. So we're going to get cracking on where we are. So the first thing I sort of looked at this and thought, well, how can we really get the best value? Now, obviously, we all know that we're in a bit of a challenging time at the moment with what's going on. But I really wanted to go back to the basics of marketing, because for me, the marketing we need to do now is actually not that different to the marketing we need to do at any time. And I look at marketing really as number one factor is we've always got to see marketing as an investment, not a cost. And I think every one of the guys here will agree with that. That the more you put in, the idea is you put the investment in, and it's there to actually generate a return on investment. The other factor is by doing that, in order to do that, marketing has to generate leads. Okay, this is not about brand advertising where we've got big budgets and we can spend lots of money just getting our brand out there, hoping that people are going to buy. We want to see the fact that a lead comes in or a sale is made directly as a result of the marketing we do. Now, some of that might have a lead time. It might take a little bit longer, but the essence is there. And the third one I've always looked at is marketing is about education and communication. So it's really about getting that message out there and getting people to understand. So I just want to sort of post those sort of 3 points to our panel at the start. So Julian, as the sort of, I would say the all-round marketing guy, would there be anything you would add to those 3 points that I've got there? Oh, you're still on mute, Julian, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, getting used to this, like most of us. Yeah, I think the thing that's probably bit that's missing for me is the understanding of your audience, particularly now, because everybody's going through something that none of us have been through before, and we'll all react to it in different ways. And to understand what your customers are feeling, and try and anticipate how you can help them, how your service, whatever you offer can help them best, I think is another thing that's worth considering at this stage, because it won't be, it's not normal. We're all trying to do something that we haven't done before, and the way people react to it will be different. So yeah, I think about the audience as well.
Yeah, that's my next slide, Julian. So
oh, well, we haven't swapped slides. Okay.
Martin, would you add anything or sort of extend any of those?
I think right now marketing, as Julian said, understanding your customer is absolutely paramount, but also understanding that your messaging that you've used for however long you've used it for should probably be adjusted slightly for the times. A friend of mine, Josh, runs a large teeth whitening company, and for example, they've pivoted their message for make your teeth pearly white for all the Zoom calls that you're on, right? As opposed to being out. And so just pivoting that message and making it and keeping it relevant.
Yeah, I think that's the big word, relevancy. That it amazes me on the TV and radio, the adverts they're running now are exactly the same adverts they were running 3 months ago. And they're just so out of context where we are. It's like, it's only the supermarkets recently have changed their message. I know it takes time to build these things, but they're not pivoting that quickly. Whereas I think the methods we use, we can pivot really, really quickly, and we should. So it's got to be a relevant message. Andy, on the LinkedIn platform, would you add anything to that?
Yes, I think not necessarily just for LinkedIn, but one of the things I've realised just recently is there's people stop buying from me, and there's people who wanted to buy who suddenly couldn't, or suddenly wouldn't because their business changed. So one of the things I've been talking to clients about is having to think about who else can I be selling to. So for instance, my web designers, my accountants, my lawyers, they still want help with LinkedIn. And as you know, I deliver on people's LinkedIn for them. Secondly, what else can I sell? Because it may be that I can't either sell what I was selling before, or I can't sell as much of or in the same way. And so that, again, if I'm maybe selling something else to the same audience, or who else can I be selling to? So back to perhaps knowing, as you said, who your audience is, or who's now better placed to buy, that we can perhaps be targeting and talking.
Yeah, so I think it does start sort of internally first. Is look at your own proposition. Is your proposition relevant? Do you have to pivot? I know the market's changed, but do you have to come at it from a different point of view? Are there other opportunities? We're very much, I think if you've seen the other webinars we've done, I've looked at it in 3 phases. First phase is survival. The second phase really is looking at opportunities and looking at the market and where's the market going to be in 3 months, 6 months time. And then the third phase will be ramping back up and how do we come back out of this. So Mark, I think you're unmuted down there. So
not anymore, I don't think.
Oh, he's there. There he is. He's back. He's back on my board.
Yeah. So totally agree with that. With everything that people have been saying. Obviously, as we progress through the slides, I can go into more detail on how I think digital marketing and SEO in particular can help people. But obviously, people have already mentioned, and so I'm not familiar with everyone's names yet, but about adapting your marketing at the moment. But it's not just about how people's habits are changing now, but it's also about, whilst some businesses you might not be able to service your customers at the moment, so you have to think about how you're going to be able to service them in the future and what you can do at the moment to capture their details or capture their interest. So when we do come out of this shitstorm, you're in the best position to do business with them. And now, thankfully, there's many tools available to us, all of which are free, that let us actually find out how people's habits are changing. So perhaps there'll be an opportunity as you move through this presentation.
There's a perfect place for that, Mark. That'll be great to come back to that. So if we look at this sort of the next level, there's a book that I love. You know, I use it a lot within the marketing training that we do. I don't know if any of you guys have read this one, Highly Effective Marketing Plan. So I've read a lot of marketing books, but this one just for me put it down into such succinct ways. So basically, if you haven't read it, grab it. It comes with a lot of Peter Knight's website has a lot of tools that you can access, and not as many now as it used to be. He used to give it all for free, but I think he does charge a little bit now. But it is gold dust, the stuff that's in there. So I've really looked at utilizing that as my framework for this. And so where do we start? Well, the key thing really in any marketing is understanding what your goals are. Too many people. I had one of my clients come to me and goes, I need to do some social media marketing. I need to be posting some stuff. And I said, well, why? Why do you need to do it? Well, I just need to do it. Well, what's your goal? What are you trying to actually achieve? So I think this is the time where, as we come out of this crisis mode into something to a little bit, you do have a little bit more headspace and a bit more time perhaps, is to real get clarity around the goals that you're actually setting. And, so when you're looking at each sort of medium, you're trying to find the goal that you want to achieve. So is it leads? Are you sowing seeds now for harvesting later on? Because, some of you are selling products now that just nobody wants to buy. It's not, be blunt about it. Sometimes you can't sell anything because you're not allowed to sell it. But this doesn't mean you can't be getting the message out and sowing those seeds. So Mark, on your website, what would you say that, some goals that people should be really thinking about would be?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, it could be that a lot of business owners at the moment have more free time. I don't want to make assumptions, but I guess that might be the case with some people. So it could be a great time to finish off those digital to-do lists that they might have had. So whether that's a website redesign, adding more content, or conversion rate optimization, that kind of thing. But essentially, if you're looking at goals related to all of those things, I mentioned those tools earlier. So your goal might be to get more customers. It might be to get more signups. It might be to get more phone calls. Now, there are all these free tools that we have from Google. There's Google Trends. Now, Google Trends, I never tend to find many business owners who know about it, but Google Trends is an application that lets you see what trends are happening in your industry. That means you can react before the competition does, and it helps you future-proof your business. So it could be that you're using Google Trends to help set your goals. It could be that Google Analytics account that your digital agency set up for you 3 years ago, you've never really understood the data. It could be about someone like me giving you a free dashboard that you can just install so you can understand what pieces of content on your website your users are looking at. It could be that you use Google Alerts, which is a free email alert tool, to find out what your customers are talking about online at this moment in time and getting those email alerts, all to help set your goals. So those are just some of the things you can use. There's also things like Google Search Console, which really lets you dive deep into your website and how the visitors have behaved with it. So all of these tools can help you set those goals. But obviously it's on a sort of case-by-case basis. So that's sort of my broad answer, if that's what your kind of thing you're looking for.
Yeah. I think going back to measurements, knowing what you're trying to measure and looking out, into the metrics that are available, certainly around websites. I find there's so many metrics you can do. A lot of people are just blinded by which ones I should be looking at. Is it using it to get reach? I think Martin, on Facebook, that's always been one of your key drivers, isn't it? How do I increase my sort of market reach as one of the number ones?
So certainly the majority of what I've done over the years is in the B2C space rather than the B2B base. So I've been able to skip the sort of traditional lead generation a lot of the time when selling to consumers, but it's still follows that understanding your goals is super important. And so typically what we do is we sketch out the metrics involved in the user journey. So from clicking on the ad to arriving on your website, to adding something to their cart, to purchasing, to repurchasing, and throwing in like AOV or something in there, and really mapping that out on a spreadsheet. So what are your current numbers? And then what would it look like if this number improved by this, or this number improved by this, and then really doubling down on that area. For like a week, I'll just go deep on how to improve my add to carts, or how to improve my click-through rate on my ad. And when you really, really laser focus like that, like a sniper, leveraging the internet for advice, and there's plenty, you can really see some big gains, and you know in advance, because you've done your calculations, what result those big gains will have on your business as a whole. So again, it's about setting your goals. In my case, when we're spending tens of thousands of pounds a week on ads, it's all about knowing your numbers, because your goals aren't necessarily around speaking with individual customers.
Yeah, and we come back to the return on investment. That if you don't have this, how do you know what your return is going to be? How much in people say, how much in marketing should I spend? I said, well, depends what your return on investment is. I'd spend £1 million a day on marketing if it was bringing me back £2 million. But too many people have got no idea of that, and therefore they generally underspend on marketing, not overspend. And that's why I say, if you think about it as an investment, if you're investing in anything, you would know your numbers to the infinite degree. And I think too many people are lazy marketers. They just think, I'll just send some stuff out and I'll do some stuff, and they feel busy. I've done something, but actually, you may as well just add the weekend off and go and sit in the sunshine.
Could I ask something as Martin's chatting, because it'd be interesting to get Martin's opinion on it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So Martin was obviously talking about advertising and stuff, and as well as SEO, I do Google AdWords as well. What I'm noticing over the last few weeks is that click costs are starting to dramatically reduce because people are pulling money out of advertising. So my thoughts are on it, and might be jumping the gun somewhat, but it could be the perfect time for some businesses to actually try and gain market share whilst their competition isn't spending on advertisers. So it could be that there is a potential cheaper lead acquisition than there ever was before.
100%. And I think, so I was actually interviewing a Facebook ads guy yesterday. His name's Depesh Mandala. He's based in London. He's also, he was suffering with coronavirus and actually overcame it. So we did a sort of hybrid on-trend call there. And he's one of the few advertisers, like agents, Facebook agency owners, that actually communicates directly with Facebook. Facebook gives him access to beta tests, like beta versions and things like that, and and there's back and forth, right? And one of the things that he said that Facebook's reported is that their CPMs and generally their sort of filling of ad inventory is down about 30 to 40%. And the reason for that is a lot of their larger advertisers are like hotels or airlines or any of these big companies that buy a lot of ads that aren't currently trading. And so it's a fantastic time. CPMs are really down at the moment. It's a fantastic time to experiment, to try things out. We're about to fire off a sort of messenger leads campaign, giving away value, but in like chatbot form, just to give it a go. Like, why not? But I think it's important, particularly with those kind of campaigns right now, to lead. Kevin's a sterling example of this with the action he's taken and creating the WhatsApp group and these kind of free calls for everybody. It's a time to lead and give value, and not in many ways not stress too much about an immediate return right now. Just know that the people that you're helping right now will remember that in the future. So that's kind of my two.
Yeah, it's sowing seeds. As we come out of winter into spring, that's the time we sow the seeds, and then you do that well enough, you'll reap the rewards later. So again, we need to be clear on those goals. Julie and Andy, have you got anything to add to that, or shall I move on to the next section? You okay? Cool. Good. So I'll come to you on this one then. So this is the one that we started with. So Andy, I mean, Andy's been running my LinkedIn sort of marketing now for what, 3-4 months. And it's so important, for identifying targets and actually moving in. But more than just identifying them, go back to the highly effective marketing plan. Is a great way of sort of saying, well, what are they actually thinking? Because what they're thinking now is completely different to what they were thinking, 2-3 weeks ago. I'm going back through my CRM system, looking at conversation I've been having with prospects, literally 2 weeks ago, and it's like it's a different world. What we were talking about. So, how are you seeing that coming out in your LinkedIn strategies, Andy?
Okay, for a couple of things. I can't see your slides, Kevin, so I don't know whether I'm missing a trick. At this end.
Can everybody else see the slides?
Oh, yeah. People see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see the slides. Okay. I don't know why you can't see my slides, Andy. They're very simple. It says set your goals at the top.
It's okay. I got it. I've got it on 2 screens.
See, you're far ahead of yourself, Andy.
Or I'm not that techie. I couldn't switch a second screen. Which just shows you don't have to be technical to use LinkedIn. I think it was Mark and Martin were talking some great stuff, and I think I've got to write that down because some of it I don't even understand. I've got to go look it up. And you're right, there's massive opportunity because things have changed. First of all, Kevin, I've been delivering on your LinkedIn strategy probably for nearly a year. It's not 2 or 3 months.
The world is moving so quickly, I've lost track.
Time flies when we're getting results, doesn't it? And I think the challenge with LinkedIn is I've got this formula: massive action times the right stuff times consistently equals results. So yes, we can do more of what we're doing, but it's got to be a combination of it being the right stuff. And I think the challenge with LinkedIn is a lot of people are not necessarily understanding the right way to engage and message people. And I know we've set campaigns up where we can go and connect with your ideal target. And then you've been asking them stuff. You've been sending out questionnaires and asking them that there's a balance as to where that works. But I think a lot of people know what they're selling and what they can do for people. And it's about messaging it in the right way to cut through the noise, because it's a noisy platform, like all platforms are noisy, and to engage with people in the right way. And we have got a process to deliver on all that so that you can just respond to inbound messages. Now, the challenge, that's great for a micro business, or we can do it across teams of salespeople. I've just been talking to a big company in Australia yesterday morning who makes big umbrellas for pubs and that sort of thing, big awnings. They've just switched to selling to hospitals and clinics. Interestingly, the big supermarkets didn't want to know about them, but the little supermarkets did. So it'd be interesting to see the impact that has. But what he said is, I need to get posts out there because I need to, like one of you guys said earlier, about not sowing the seed fast, to engage with more people more quickly so that when we get through this, I've got the edge and I'm already talking to them. One of the things he said was, I'm noticing key corporate purchasing managers sat at home or on LinkedIn more than they were. So now again is an ideal opportunity to do that. Yeah. Kevin knows, and he can share this with you, that we've also recently got a handle on the algorithm of LinkedIn that sends your posts to maximum exposure. And so bigger anybody, but bigger companies are more focusing in on posts, whereas salespeople are focusing on, I want to get to that decision maker and strike up a conversation. You can now automate and ramp up the activity to do that. And I think that's the massive action part, because LinkedIn is so multifaceted, which is great, but the challenge is how do you deliver on it as an individual when you can now.
Yeah. No, I think it has its limitations a bit. I mean, the targeting on LinkedIn is okay. It's not, it could be better, but it's good enough. But we've all most of us are going to be on LinkedIn. We get those bland messages that we get through, and I'm still getting them now. It's like drives me demented, and people that connect with no message. It's like, why would you actually do it? It's like tapping somebody on the shoulder and they're not saying anything. It's like you're just missing such an opportunity to start a relationship, start a communication.
It is about learning that right stuff, how to engage. And again, now's the opportunity, because you're passionate about languaging and how you engage. You're talking about setting your goals. I've had someone the other day, they connected with me. I said, why have you connected? I just want to build my network. Yeah, cool. Why do you want to build your network? I just want to build my network. Well, you've missed an opportunity. That's not a goal to build your network. It's to build your network to engage in whatever way, or get referrals, or find out decision makers, or not just to grow numbers. That's an activity, not an outcome.
And also that's selfish, isn't it? That's what I want. Whereas this is all about, well, what do they want? You know, how can I help you? You know, I'm connecting to help you. If I can't find out how I'm going to help you, then why the hell what would you ever buy from me? So, Julian, what would your take be on that?
In terms of the targeting. Yeah. I think rather, looking at anything's sort of platform specific. Again, I think I've come back to trying to get a handle on what the way people are thinking these days, and what their attitudes are. As you said earlier on, Kevin, what people are, what they were thinking about 2 or 3 weeks ago is probably completely out the window for some. And the best thing to do is to try and identify, what people what's keeping them up at night now, and how you can best what you offer best fits with that. And I think it's very difficult to do on a mass basis. This is where you do need to get to know people, understand a bit about their business, and say, okay, well, given they're in this business and this is likely to happen to them, what can we do for them now? I think that'd be my take on it, but which is not particularly specific to any medium really. But it's getting that understanding. I think is really, really vital at this stage.
Yeah, and when we sort of look at this, the amount of time and effort that really should go into your targeting and your personas, that sort of thing. I know for bringing Martin, within the Facebook side of it, how much time do you spend identifying your targets to build those, as opposed to the actual posting the ads out?
Tremendous amount of time. So we build up avatars for each sort of subsection of target that we're going after. Obviously, we're spoiled on Facebook.
Yeah.
I do want to mention that we are experimenting with TikTok ads, Snapchat ads. We've got Google and all the rest of them going. But Facebook seems to be the pigeonhole I've been put in right now. But in terms of understanding your user better, if you've got if there's similar products to yours out there being sold on any kind of platform that also has reviews, that's a gold mine for finding out the kind of problems, pain points, desires, aspirations, usages of whatever it is that you're offering, whether that's a product or a service. I love jumping onto Reddit and looking for threads about whatever the topic is, or whatever the pain point, the top level pain point that it is you're serving. I mean, for example, like one of the products that we sell is Nubrew, which Kevin's on the board of advisors for, and it's a cognition drink, right? It's a supplement you pour into water and you drink it, improves your brain. One of the new avatars that we're going after is what we're dubbing super mums, because we've got this whole new breed right now of mums who are trying to juggle homeschooling and housework, and the husband's home all the time, and and then the additional cognitive load there is like immense. And so we're jumping into forums for like homeschooling forums and looking at what mums are saying. We're looking at like Amazon products, any kind of products that have helped ease the life of mums, and the story in the reviews, in the review section, what they're saying, and really trying to sort of build up an avatar, like and getting it down to the point where we've got an avatar and we've given them a name, like, hey, this is Carol. Carol's our avatar, and this is Carol's life right now, and that really helps then drill down in, so that you can get your messaging on point, so you can get your targeting on point, and so that you can hit a nerve with your ads, so that that your prospect takes action.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to look at the time you spend, if 100% is the total time marketing, how much of that would you spend in your targeting sort of concept?
Well, I think once our avatar's nailed down, and ordinarily when there isn't a pandemic or some kind of other major life event that's going on that changes things up, once we've got that avatar sort of nailed, we can just sort of reinforce that as our own customer feedback starts coming in. It's just when we start a new campaign to penetrate a new segment, that's when we'll do a lot of research into the avatar. But from that point forward, it's more about like once we've got that kind of nailed, that point forward, it's about refreshing creative. So
as a percentage of time, because I'm trying to get across to a lot of
at the
people,
beginning,
they don't spend enough time in this area.
That's 100% of the time. At the beginning of a campaign, it's 100% of the time. You have to have that nailed before you can move.
Of the whole campaign, so the whole campaign of doing everything is 100%. What percentage would be around that first part of targeting?
Depends how long the campaign's going on for. As the weeks go on, it's a smaller percentage, but certainly if the campaign's lasted a week at the start, it's a big chunk, like 30% of the time, maybe 40%.
Yeah, I think it's got to, to me, it's got to be around about 30-40% of the overall time you're going to spend on your marketing campaign is up front, just in targeting. Yeah, if you don't, because if you do that, everything else is easy. Yeah, because you know who you're going for, everything else then makes sense. If you don't do this, then it's a bland message to a general number of people, and it's like machine gun fire. It's a hope strategy. I just call it. It's just, for me, it's just lazy marketing. Mark, would you, when you're looking at sort of websites, where it's different with Martin because he can sort of laser fire and talk almost directly to individuals. With a website, you've got to be a little bit more general. Yeah. So how do you sort of focus in on your target markets when you're building a website?
Well, if we're talking specifically about now, what I would do with my website, then there's a few things. Just before I get into that though, just really quickly, if we want to know what people are thinking, I mentioned this earlier and I just want to mention it again, but Google Alerts, Google Trends. I won't go into detail, but what I'll do, Kevin, I'll do a half-hour video showing people how to use these tools, because I think for the business people in your group who aren't aware of these tools, it could give them some really valuable insight, and then I'll give you that video. Yeah. But in terms of the website, I think what I'm noticing are people are still browsing the internet. Now, evidently, there are some industries where website traffic's going down. For example, financial services, their website traffic's down by 60% or so, based on the numbers I'm seeing. But then you've got, like, I don't know, businesses within the garden industry, their traffic's probably up 200% at the moment. But regardless, it doesn't matter where your traffic level is. People are still browsing your website because at the moment they're thinking, well, what are we going to do when we come out of this pandemic? Or what can we do now? So I think you need to give them a message on the website. So it might be, so for example, whilst you might not be able to service your customer today, and I'm thinking off the top of my head, perhaps you're a hairdresser, whatever it might be, think about how you can capture their details now. Perhaps that's with an offer for when the pandemic's over. So that's one thing. If you can't service them today, dangle them a carrot so they know you're going to give them something great when we come out of this. I think also for businesses, especially local businesses, it's a great opportunity to show support for your customer base. And that could be by offering special discounts that will keep the revenue flowing. Martin kind of spoke a little bit and touched on that as well, didn't he? It could be, you identify your product market fit and create a special offer. But also we've got to think about people are changing, and I think this is going to change us forever. I think it will change the way people work and the way they travel. So, for example, at the moment, we're all reducing our travel time. We're staying close to home. Now, this is probably going to continue, possibly into next year. That's my personal opinion. I don't think we're going to be traveling much. So, in the rare times we do leave our house, whether that's now or in the future, we're looking for nearby destinations for services and supplies, I guess. So you want to make sure that your business is using local SEO strategies to optimize your website for those kind of near me services, or making you appear in the Google Maps a little bit better. I think the dependence on local industry in particular is going to get a lot bigger than it has ever been before. So for me, it's key to really work on the local sort of SEO stuff. And again, I can do a video for that and show people how to do it themselves.
That'd be great. So anything like that, please, just if it's helping people out, just get it done and put it to me or put it onto the WhatsApp.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not rocket science. Anyone can do SEO. I always say this. You just need a blueprint and someone just to show you the steps you need to take.
to do it. And the other thing with, don't forget, your targets are also your customers. They're your past customers. They're the prospects that were in the pipeline. They're the new people. That it's not just about, brand new leads. You've almost got to resell to your existing client base, and people that were with you in a while back, go back to them because their situations would have changed.
No, exactly. Email marketing is key. There's so many businesses who don't have an email database, but that doesn't mean you can't start email marketing. If you can get all the emails of your customers together, there are tools like MailChimp, for example, and I think they let you send out email for up to maybe 10,000 emails a month before they start charging.
A couple of thousand.
I'm not I'm not a GDPR expert, so I'm not going to go down that route. But there are options which all businesses can take with their email, starting from now. So it's a good time.
Chris, it's SEO, search engine optimization, was on your note there. So Chris has asked, can you ask the guys about bots? Chris, do you want to unmute yourself and just ask that question? Because I'm not too sure what in context. You there, Chris?
Hang on. Is that it? Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you.
Yeah. I've got a company has been sending me emails regularly about bots, but I have actually no idea what they are, whether it's relevant to my business, and I just wondered if I could ask people's opinion on those, whether they've used them, what they know about them, whether they're worth looking at, or where they sit.
It's a marketing company approaching you, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody want to pick up that one?
You're happy to jump in, or anyone else? So I'd say so bots is short for chatbots, predominantly. I've actually recently been hit by a company talking about the most basic chatbot campaigns ever, but yeah, it's like a very belligerent marketing company, not caring at all about GDPR or anything like that. So they have their time and place. I would say that right now in this climate, it's not a time for experimentation. That is what I would kind of say in terms of going into something completely new. If it's something that and it's kind of been on your to-do list for a while, sure. But to answer your question, as in what they are, it's like an autoresponder, if you like, to really dumb it down. It's like it's an autoresponder for messaging channels that you might be on. So it might be Facebook Messenger, it might be WhatsApp, it might be a live chat widget on your website, and there's many more. I mean, we jumped into that industry with our software company like 3 or 4 years ago. We created a software called Trust Message, which sends like automated follow-ups as like a private message, and it's a way more intrusive form of marketing, but it is very, very powerful because it's got a huge level of open rates. Again, I would say if it's something that's brand new, I wouldn't get into it in this climate. If it's something that you wanted to learn more about, there's a lot of kind of education available on YouTube. The frontline chatbot companies right now is like ManyChat.com, Chatfuel.com, and a few others like that. It's powerful, but it has its place, I guess, would be.
I think that's a big point. And I don't think it's just now. It's in marketing, I always see marketing strategies as like spinning plates. You want to get one plate spinning, then you get another one, then you go back to that one. And not until you've got all those plates really spinning do you start another one. And coming into it and starting a brand new marketing strategy from scratch, I'd be very, very wary about it. There's enough stuff that you're probably already doing, just get better at that. 10% improvement of what you're already doing will get you a better chance than starting a brand new strategy. Cool. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So once we know our targets, so we've really identified who we're going after, what are they actually thinking about, we then need to craft our message. Okay. Now I would say the first two are the science of marketing. Okay, that's the sort of the analytical skills, your ability to process logic and data. When you come to your message, and get in the relevance, I think this is where we start moving into the art bit. you know, the creativity, the sort of the ability to really, you know, the wordsmithing, you know, the copywriting, the understanding, yeah, how we get that message across. So Julian, what have you learned over the years with, you know, to really get messages that hit home in times like this?
Ooh, I think that the fundamentals don't change, actually. You know, that's the thing about this to remember, is that the fundamentals of, you know, getting the attention of your audience, saying something interesting, you know, saying something that's going to resonate with them, that hasn't changed. I think that's one thing we can fall back on. The fundamentals are still the same. So actually, what you've got to do is to you know, get the attention of your audience in a way which, you know, resonates with them, and so there's that's the fundamental. So, you know, there's all different techniques. Right now, humor maybe, you know, can be seen as an antidote, you know, to some of the bad stuff. People are trying all sorts of things, actually, but essentially you've got to get through to people in a way which you know, which cuts through. There's a lot of stuff out there. People are sort of trying all sorts of things. But the fundamentals, as I say, haven't actually changed. And yeah, the classics, you know, something newsworthy, something humorous, something topical, all of those things can still, you know, can still and do work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm always taken back to John Capel's, you know, tested advertising methods, you know, classic book, and I think that's where I sort of came across the AIDA principle. I think he was the one that was, you know, set that one up. So attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's an old one, but it's goody, you know, and people, you could do a lot worse than actually follow that. You know, it's proven. I mean, there are more sophisticated models these days, but for you know, many people thinking, you know, small business people thinking about how they should do it, that hasn't changed.
Yeah, yeah. Andy, what's you know, I mean, this is, I think we touched on it before within LinkedIn. You know, this is that, yeah, attention message. You know, how do I capture somebody's interest and pull them in so that I've got the chance then to actually, you know, in effect, sell to them?
I think to keep it simple, I've said that we talked about posts, and I believe that's the sort of 20% of LinkedIn that's the social media side. I really think the power of LinkedIn is getting direct to the decision maker to get a conversation. So my background was as a kid knocking doors and picking up the telephone and making direct sales. So for me, it's very much, it can be about the direct sale approach. I remember running a training day with a bunch of sales guys, and they said, we're connecting with people on LinkedIn, but then we want to know what to say. And I said, you're kidding me, aren't you? What do you do as salesman if you pick up the phone or get an email or knock on someone's door? And I think it's the same. I think for the direct sales approach, and you mentioned the search, I do think the search criteria in sales now is quite good. So for instance, my accountant wants business owners, MDs of a certain size in and around his doorstep, a certain geography. And it's very much the case. I do believe in find, connect, and then engage. And the reason we hear so many people saying, oh, people on LinkedIn are just trying to sell to me. Yeah, they are, and they're doing it wrong. So you've got to connect and then engage. But then when I engage, I can say, hey, you'll see from my profile, I'm an accountant and I serve people in this way, and this way. Is this something you're interested in talking about? I'm looking to get the conversation offline. So it suits the sort of businesses where you've got that sort of sales approach, because you want a direct conversation with the decision maker. And I was talking to a guy only yesterday, and he said, oh, I've read a book where they've said you should take up to 10 messages to engage and know, like, and trust and all of that process. And I said, I disagree at a level, because first of all, why would I not, if I've got a good product and service, not give you the opportunity to say you're interested in talking about it? Secondly, that doesn't serve you. If you've got a need or a problem or something that I can solve or save money on, why wouldn't I sort of cut to the chase fairly quickly? I'm not going to jump in as soon as we connect and say 20% off my ink cartridges, but I am going to say, are you involved in buying ink cartridges? who in your business might be, would you be interested in looking at how you can save money?
Yeah.
And I think people get hung up over the fact that it's LinkedIn at some level. I think, what would you do if you met somebody networking? You'd say, this is what I do. Are you interested in hooking up afterwards and having a conversation?
Yeah.
And I think the same thing works. I know you and I have worked at the micro level around languaging. That's both of our passions, around how you don't alienate someone when you engage with them. And I think that's the biggest thing most people miss, is their languaging will turn some people off at some level, or alienate part of their.
And that's why I think this is where that sort of skill does come. You know, the ability to communicate through, you know, most of these methods are through the words we use, the copywriting, which is, you know, why we call it target offer copy. You know, we'll come on to the ways that we do that in a minute. But that ability to wordsmith something together that really is compelling. You know, very few of us, if we're doing our own marketing, are, you know, we've practiced this. You know, how much learning have you done around that side of things? You know, very, very little. You know, I think one of the best books I've read on that was Alan Pease's Right Language. You know, WRRTE. You know, again, it's a classic. It's I mean, ancient, but it's got the essence in there of what makes good languaging. You know, if you want to know more about it, you know, NLP. You know, spend some of your furlough time if you're on furlough, or the weekend. You know, do an NLP course. You know, that is all about neuro-linguistic programming. You know, the language that we use to influence people. So, and I think, you know, if you can't come up with messages now in where we are that are relevant to the people out there, then I seriously you've got to question you in the right sort of business. I think everybody's business somehow, you know, should be able to hit a message now. And we have a little formula within Action Coach. I know some of you would have come across it. I'm going to put it up on the chat, which is what we call the formula for change. So, you know, in order to change somebody, you know, they've got a resistance to that change, which is we call the R. Yeah, in order to overcome that, we've got to show them the first steps. You know, click this button, do this, pick the phone up, you know, answer. But actually, what makes them take action is their dissatisfaction with where they are and their vision of where they want to be. Now, the great thing from a marketing perspective is there are a lot of dissatisfied people in the market right now. You know, I've just been on to Amazon to buy something, and it's not going to. I can't get delivery on Amazon until June. You know, so there's areas within the place that actually there's a real shortage of buying stuff, you know, online. My online clients, you know, are, you know, they're 3-4 weeks behind in delivery because they've just got so much stuff that they can't get out. Now, there's a dissatisfaction that, you know, if you're looking at that, if you understand the market, you can actually get in there and actually make it work. So really, so Mark, in SEO, what is anything you would add to that about, you know, really getting that message across in the right way?
Not so much. I mean, there's been some great ideas so far. I mean, what I can tell you what not to do with your messaging. At the moment, people's emotions are running really high.
Yeah.
We're constantly seeing businesses and people getting flamed on social media. One of my friend's businesses got caught out. When the whole coronavirus thing started, they put a really great message up on their site saying, look, we're still working at the moment until the advice from the government changes. You know, these are the things we're doing to keep our customers safe. Now, unfortunately, when the lockdown occurred, they forgot to take that message off their site. And then someone flaming them on social media saying, I can't believe you're still visiting people's homes and doing this thing. And they're like, look, we're not. So it's about, you know, people's emotions running really high, and your business can be damaged at the moment. So if you are going to do any corona themed marketing, I'd suggest that you run those messages past people first, like Kevin, for example, so you don't get it wrong. Because if you're seen to be profiteering or potentially putting people at risk during this time, people are going to really give you a shoeing, and it could even go national in the media. So I would say, you know, don't look like you're profiteering, don't look like you're putting people at risk, probably don't even sugarcoat things and appear too insincere, or it could appear insincere. You know, there's so many marketing things I'm seeing at the moment, and maybe I'm cynical, but I can see right.
You cringe, don't you? Some of them. It's like,
Yeah, I think
really?
there's a fine line. So I guess, we're in a great group here on WhatsApp. So maybe if you are doing some new marketing messages, chuck it in the WhatsApp group and get people's opinions before you go public with it, because it can go horribly wrong.
Yeah. No, I think it's having that reality. Yeah, if you're going to write, because Facebook is so instant, LinkedIn is so instant. These things, as soon as you do it, it's out there in the general domain. And you've got to get that reality check. When I write my emails, I'll write them. I basically send them to myself. I get my wife to read them. And then I post them tomorrow. Because you write it in the emotion. You write these things and you send it, and then you look at it and go, "Oh God, why did I say that?" Or it reads differently, doesn't it? We've all done it. We've sent an email. And we've written something. When you read it from the other perspective, it doesn't come across as really intended it. And say, your reputation is hard to build, easy to lose. So my third area here then is, once we know the target market, we've got our message. So this is, these two here are probably, for me, 60% of your time in a marketing campaign. This is where the time and the effort goes in identifying your goals, your targets, and your message. Once we've got to that level, the rest of it starts to get easier. It should get easier. We've done this bit right, this bit's easy. Okay, if you're finding the communication, the channels, which do I use? It's purely because you haven't done those first two steps, done enough work up there. Okay, so really think about that. So really, at that point, then you're then looking at saying, right, what is the best channel in order to communicate? So I'm going to bring Martin back in for this one. So Martin, the question really is, when shouldn't you use Facebook? So it's almost the other way. Is when is Facebook? Because everyone goes, "Oh, I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to do this." When would you say people shouldn't actually use Facebook as a medium to communicate?
I think that's a great question. I'm a firm believer, having seen everything from dogs collar, or being involved in selling everything from dog collars to houses with Facebook, that you can sell anything using it if you do it the right way. But when shouldn't you be using Facebook? When you have a warm list of telephone leads that you can call.
Yeah.
And there's no substitute. If you've got a high ticket offer or something, there is really no substitute to, nutting up and picking up the phone and calling your potential customers, because at the very least you'll leave with a better understanding of what the needs of your customers are, even if you don't leave with a sale. But I believe Facebook can aid kind of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve with your marketing plan. So maybe I would add, don't use it if you're not crystal clear about what you're trying to do, as well. Yeah.
I think, and that was a classic example. I was with a client yesterday, and we were going through this, and he said, I've got to do Facebook marketing. I've got to do social media marketing. I said, okay, so why? And we went through the targeting, the offer, and we came out of that, and he basically had a list of, I think it was 50 people he was going to go after. And I said, well, why the hell do you want to spend all that time and effort on Facebook? Well, there's the 50. Have you got their telephone numbers? He said, yeah. I said, well, pick up the bloody phone and talk to them. Because what are they doing? It's actually easier now than it's ever been to actually pick up a phone and actually talk to somebody. Because, most people, if they're working from home, that they don't have the distractions. They're not going to meetings. They're sitting there. They're at the end of a telephone, and, with Andy, I've lost Andy's picture, but Andy, are you finding more people are available on LinkedIn now? Are your sort of response rates going up?
Yeah, I think so. I think I said earlier that there's only yesterday I was talking to a guy in Australia these decision makers are big purchasing managers and directors in big corporates. He said, I'm seeing more of them on LinkedIn, and I'm getting to them because they're sat at home and people are surfing. I've actually had a couple of inquiries from my franchise, and I don't promote my franchise. It's something we were sort of building years ago. We've still got a few franchisees, and that's because people are at home surfing. And this guy said, I'm looking at I need a digital business I can buy into because of the way things are right now. So definitely people are on the internet and more. And I think it was interesting, Martin said, I thought you were going to ask me the same, who wouldn't be using LinkedIn? I think if you're B2C, or I think if you've got a low average value, you know, if you're selling widgets for a few quid, you're probably not going to be. It still surprises me who you can get to on LinkedIn. You know, I deal with a lot of property investors, and those guys are out looking for people who might lend them cash. LinkedIn's ideal. But I say to them, we're not going to go out there to look for people who are selling their houses. And in fact, for property deals you're going to buy. And yet I've had a deal, and I've still had other people that have got a property deal through LinkedIn. That's not what you're going out to do, but other things, sort of icing on the cake, other things happen. But yeah, definitely now, more people are on social media because they're stuck at home. That's probably why you couldn't see my photo, because all the damn kids in the village, I mean, up the mountain in Spain, are streaming videos because everyone's at home on the internet right now. So definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah. No, and Julian, is there anything that you would do more, different methods you would do now as opposed to any other time?
Well, I think the point was made very well earlier on, that there are some things which are some channels which, if they're appropriate to, at the end of the day, it's got to be appropriate. Some people just sort of rush, it's because Facebook has become a big thing and everybody thinks they should be on it. They think, oh, we must do Facebook advertising. But I think the first thing to do is it the right channel for you? And if it is, as the point's been made, because of some of the big advertisers have reined back, it is a good time to take advantage of value. So things that perhaps you wouldn't have done in the past, that perhaps you could try now. I mean, one of the other speakers talked about the pay-per-click, and Google AdWords and things like. Some of the costs of doing that would have come down. I mean, if you're really thinking big, you can go on. I mean, TV has collapsed. If you've had to put yourself on TV, now might not be a bad. If it's the right thing for you to do. I mean, certainly that's the main thing. Is it the right channel for you to reach your audience? And if they're there, then there are certain channels which are going to be quite attractive right now. So that's the thing. So there's value to be had out there, providing that your audience has been found there. Don't just do it because I must be, everybody else is doing Facebook, therefore I must. That's absolutely the wrong reason to do it.
Exactly, and I think that's why once you know your target, then the way to communicate them then becomes easy.
Absolutely.
It makes total sense. It shouldn't be difficult if you've done the work up front to actually then decide which way you're going to actually communicate. So my final sort of step in this process is once you've done this, then you've got to measure. Okay, you can't go into a marketing campaign and just do stuff and expect it to work. I think I put it down to Henry Ford. I'm sure it probably wasn't, but he said 50% of my marketing's wasted. I just don't know which 50% it is, and most of your marketing will not hit target. The more targeted you are, the better the offer, the better return on investment you'll get. But, with, email opens, if you're doing email, it's a very low response rate. With Facebook, you've got to do a lot to actually achieve it. So, but if you're not measuring this stuff, it's very, very difficult to then make decisions, because marketing isn't a one-off thing. Marketing is consistent. I mean, we talked about it very early on, that whatever campaign you're going to do, whichever plate you're going to spin, you've got to keep spinning that plate. You can't just dip into social media marketing and then dip out. I mean, that's just like, just crazy. So whatever, if you're not doing it now, this is, I think, back to your point, Julian, of, or was it Martin that said, don't start a new campaign. You don't start one because, you want one that's going to continue and you're going to keep on developing. So if you have got a website, as Mark's saying, one of the first things you should be doing in this quiet time is revamping your website. It's already there. It's already doing something. Put some effort into that strategy that's already working. Really think about what you're doing and just get better at actually doing it. So that's really, really key. And the bit I've got there is in the measurements is that difference between leading KPIs, which is activity. So record your activity. How many posts have you made? How many emails have you sent? What have you actually done? Then record the lagging, the actual result of that activity. And I know sort of Martin, when we were working together on your leggings business, you just blew me away when I saw the detail of the KPIs you had. I mean, it was a spreadsheet the size of a about 30-inch screen, in tiny writing, and every point, every conversion, there's probably about 10 conversion rates on this screen, and this is why Martin could actually spend Martin, in the peak, how much were you spending per week on Facebook ads? This will scare you if you're still there. Oh, he's gone.
I think we were spending on that particular business. I think we were probably spending up to $6 or $7 a day on ads.
Yeah.
So probably at peak on Facebook ads. We were also spending money across Google and omni-channel retargeting. But you said absolutely right. We had a spreadsheet. We had our VAs populate the various different parts of this spreadsheet every day so that we woke up to it. But what we did on the advice that you actually gave us, Kevin, was we used the analogy of an airline pilot, in the cockpit with all the lights and the dials and everything above them. That pilot's flying that plane safe in the knowledge that whilst he's got all the information around him and can look and find it, he knows that if any of those numbers falls out of a safe range, that dial will flash up red. And so when we had this spreadsheet, we had conditional formatting on the cells so that if something fell out of a normal range, it would start looking red or changing color. So we could at a glance look at it and see if like one of our numbers was off on any given day, or what was causing a good day or a bad day.
Yeah. And I think that, when because Facebook changed their algorithm, didn't they? And it sort of basically destroyed your business at the time. But
I think my newborn son destroyed my business at the time, or the attention that I no longer was giving the business, rather.
But it was that sort of change in that algorithm. But you spotted that within what, hours, days?
Very quickly.
Very, very quickly. So you could pivot again. I mean, I don't know how many times you've pivoted in your business career to date, but this is just a little blip in your journey. So, but that comes from knowing your numbers. Okay, so whatever strategy you do, you've really got to focus. How do I measure this? How do I identify whether it's working or not? If it is working, chuck more money at it. That's why Martin could spend £6,000 a day on one marketing strategy, and this was selling a product that retailed at $20, $30.
About $40. I look at the $6 or $7 a day spend because we use airline like Air Mile credit cards. I look at it as like a free first class round the world trip a week kind of thing. I look at it that way.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing. Was it on Amex? Was it? And
back then it was we'd split it across a Virgin Atlantic one and an Emirates one. We actually never got to use the Emirates one. We ended up selling something like 1.2 million air miles.
Yeah.
Right now we use Amex. Amex is definitely the best one in the UK right now, and you get points. They never expire. You can convert them to any airline pretty much in the world. Definitely. If you're spending at all on ads, run it through a rewards credit card. Make sure you pay it off. I'm not recommending getting in debt, but it adds up very, very quickly and gives you cash flow.
Yeah, and it's accepted by Google, whereas you can't go down to your local store and pay by Amex. They don't like it.
You can if you put it into your phone and use it through Apple Pay.
Yes, Apple Pay would work. Yeah, cool, brilliant. Okay, so the final stage from this is don't go into your marketing campaign willy-nilly. Do the planning. Okay, sit down, go through this process. I've given you the link to the book. There are some really good tools. If you want me to send those, I'll put them on the WhatsApp group as well. It's a couple of little PowerPoint slides that really sort of help with that. So really have a think about what you're going to do with the plan, and and really make sure that whatever you do, have that consistency. I'd rather have a consistently sort of consistent marketing plan that wasn't perfect, rather than a perfect one that never gets started. Too many people trying to get their thing perfect, you know, and it never gets done, or they stop and start it because it's not quite right. Get it going, get started, and then make it better. You know, if you do the measuring, you'll understand what's working and keep going, keep improving it. Because, you know, I don't know how many years of marketing we've got sort of, you know, between us all here, but you know, there's a hell of a lot there. The real fact for this is, you know, we're still learning, aren't we? You know, it's always changing. We never know enough within marketing. You've got to keep learning, keep developing, keep changing, you know, and you know, you never become perfect at it. You just become better each day and keep learning. So, you know, there was a couple of things that I've not been able to get onto because we've got into a bit of detail with this. Julian, you did a really good post. Was it early this week? I've lost it. It could have been last week. It could have been 3 months ago. Really good article about marketing in a crisis. And I loved your little analogy here of where people are. So that, what are people thinking? There's that slam on the brakes people, pain but patient, comfortable, well off. It's a really good article. So, you know, I'll grab that and make sure that goes on the WhatsApp group for people to read over the period. Guys, you know, I know you've been posting some bits on the chat there. The chat will be deleted after this, so if you do see anything in there you want to copy and paste, copy it and put it into a Word document, because there is no way of getting the chat back, unfortunately. Or if anyone knows, let me know, because I haven't found it. And Mark said he'll post some bits on you know, SEO optimization. You know, Martin put some bits there on Facebook Blueprint, free training, you know, some really good stuff in there. And Andy, you know, is a font of knowledge for LinkedIn, so please do, you know, message him. And he's easy to find. You can't miss his picture on LinkedIn. So we've sort of run out of time. Apologies for going over a little bit, but yeah, there's been a really good conversation here. So if you do need a bit of help with preparing that marketing plan, I've still set aside 2 hours a day, you know, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. If you do want to talk about this, yeah, if you've got your plan, whiz it to me. I'll give it a once over and give you some free advice on that. The WhatsApp group, a few of you have said that on the WhatsApp group, if you message me directly, I'll send you the link and invite you to the WhatsApp group so that you can join that. It is one thing I would say, it is purely business only. There's no health stuff on there and no kittens with toilet paper. Okay, it's very much, I hate it when WhatsApp goes ping, 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 and everyone's going, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just put good stuff on there and just accept that people are going to like it. And then next week, I'm going to move into remote leadership and team motivation. We've got a lot of people now in their 3rd week of you know, remote working. We've got a lot of teams that have actually furloughed team members, you know, and just because they're furloughed, they are not out of sight, out of mind. Okay, they are still your team members. You need these guys back. You know, we're doing a lot of recruitment strategies with clients at the moment, because we're going to be pushing out adverts to recruit people, to get those people that are on furlough that are fed up with their existing employer. And we've got to make sure that your guys are not being poached by other people. So we've got to make sure, how do we actually work with that? And I'm hoping that I'm going to have a very good guest speaker, just as good as the guest speakers I've had today. But somebody I've actually asked to be on that call with us next week. So that'll be same time, 4 o'clock next Friday. And it just leaves me to wish you all a very happy Easter. You know, really enjoy, hopefully the weather's great. There'll be a bit of sunshine out there. Do relax. I mean, we are all pretty stressed out in our businesses right now, and it's more important than ever just to take a bit of break. You know, use the outside if you can, get and do some walks, but use the time also to learn. You know, listen to some positive stuff. There's a lot of rubbish going out there, a lot of negativity. You've got to keep really positive with this. and have a fantastic time. And hopefully we'll catch up with you next week. So thank you to my panel for being great participants, and we'll catch up with you later. So take care, everyone. Have a great Easter.
Thanks, Kevin.
Take care.